So I'm going to try and respond to the lady on the last phone call that put the phone down on me because she didn't want to have a debate. She said, seeing the flag, so we're on about the flag, the Union Jack, not like the ISIS flag or some other death cult. The Union flag shook her. She is a white, educated, well-to-do Caucasian, she said actually, rather than white, and yet it shook her. And she repeated that to me. So I was surprised. So my answer to it shook you, and you were just seeing a flag, not seeing some horrific murder scene or something, that shook you, and you work in the NHS, I would suggest that you probably need to get some help. And I don't mean that to sound flippant. I mean, maybe cognitive behavioural therapy or something else. I don't know, but I'm not in that field. But clearly to say that the flag of the country that you live in, that you work in, that I presume your children go to school in, that you're probably going to retire in, shook you. Well, that can't be a healthy way to live. So, like I tried to say to her on the phone, if I was you and it bothers you so much, because she did say she hates Britain. She hates what it's become. Well, to some extent, I would agree with her. I hate what Britain's becoming, and that's why I'm trying to do something about it. That's why I'm campaigning to the country isn't better, is it? In the last 30 years, the country hasn't got better. This is this kind of woke, liberal, non-competing in sports at school, DEI nonsense. So then also to bring up her comments about how the NHS relies on immigration. Well, there's no question that at the moment we do have a lot of immigrant doctors and nurses. But she should know this working in the NHS. But clearly she doesn't because she's too close to it. I would probably say that, like I've said before, that the longer you spend in education, the more liberal and less intelligent you become for quite a lot of people. So the truth about the NHS actually is that our government, successive governments, have refused to fund places for the best and brightest of our students. They've only funded 7,000 doctors' places. I can't tell you how many nursing places, but clearly not enough. I've heard multiple reports of a group of midwives, for example, having got qualified, told that they won't be offered jobs in the NHS because they will all be given to DEI, diversity, equity and inclusion. Let's face it, that isn't what it really means, is it? It means excluding Caucasians, that's what it means. Excluding the indigenous people. So they won't get jobs. And I've heard of a similar type of thing with doctors. So initially, I think it might have been a money-saving thing. But in the last 20 years, I think really what it's been, has been to make us feel grateful for immigrants coming in from other countries to save our NHS. Well, the reality is that if the NHS can only function, and we know it's not functioning very well, don't we? Because otherwise waiting lists wouldn't be what they are, and it wouldn't be soaking up such a massive amount of the national wealth. If it can only function on immigrants, then I would say the NHS as it is currently structured is clearly not fit for purpose. How can you have a key function of state providing healthcare that can only function if it's predominantly staffed by immigrant labour? Please explain. So then she said about other non-white people feeling threatened. Well, how can she speak for other non-white people? I would like to know how many other non-white friends of hers, maybe how many come round to dinner parties at hers, how many maybe came to a wedding if she's married. I don't know, I'm just asking the question. Because what I've found from driving around, and I have a flag on my car and also on buildings of mine, the amount of people of all colours and ethnicities papping me, giving the thumbs up when they see the flag. So I think it is extremely arrogant of you to speak for other people who you clearly do not know that well. while some people may feel threatened, but if they do feel so threatened by this flag, why are they here? Why would they come here? I'll explain it to you if you want a little bit. Because to the best of my knowledge, the UK is the least racist country of any other country that I know of. I'm happy to be corrected if you think you know better. Okay. But why would you come here then? Why would you? So the reason why we get accused of racism is because we are so liberal that everybody thinks they can come over here and tear this country to pieces. That's racist. White Christmas is racist. Dogs are racist. Well, we're sick of hearing it. It's all nonsense. You've gotten away with it for too long. It now doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything because you've wasted it by throwing it away on nonsense stuff. I would actually say that people giving comments out like this are who are making the situation worse. Because then that makes people like me think, wow, maybe all people who are not indigenous of the UK, maybe they do hate the flag, maybe they do think white Christmas is racist, and yet from my experience, they don't seem to, or the majority don't seem to. Otherwise, why would they come to this country? Why would they come here to celebrate Christmas and do the fun things? I think lots of immigrants are happy to both either come in here and let our country continue as we are, our culture, but maybe also maybe adapt some of it, but then also to have some of their culture. And I believe it's more this woke, super liberal, lefty outlook that's trying to tell us all that we're all racist, that in a kind of way is creating a version of racism, or almost trying to inadvertently. I'm certainly not trying to say that they're meaning to do it on purpose. Did you also notice that she was determined not to let me speak, even though I'd allowed her to speak? I haven't called up here for a debate. No, once again, that's a typical kind of lefty woke thing. Just ram their point home. Like you see, the violence comes from the left, but they're trying to accuse it about this far right thing. Don't want to talk, just want to rant, and then just expected me, the owner of my own buildings with flags on, to take it down just because she rang up and didn't like it, even though her reasonings were nonsense. She also said she was ashamed to be British. Not that she's not very happy about it, she's ashamed. But you're earning your money here. Your family's here. I find that really difficult to understand. The flag of your own country. It's a flag, Doris. It's a flag. It's a piece of material with some colours on it. It's not some graphic movie. It's not a real life murder scene. Yet, the flag of your own country, you hate it. And you hate the direction that the country's going in. Well, I hate the direction that the country's been going in for the last 30 years. I think now we are about to turn the corner. There's no way that anybody can believe that this country is better now than 30 years ago. Debt's up, violent crimes up, sexual assaults are up, police response to burglaries, car thefts are non-existent. I can't think of a single thing that's better. And yet we talk about having such a great educational system, yet we can't educate enough doctors and nurses in this country. Well, clearly that's just a political will. How can this lady that's supposed to be well educated know better? I haven't got any letters after my name. None. So then she said about this march in London. Well, did she go? Of course she didn't. I did. My missus went. And my 3 very young children went. We had a wonderful time. So did everybody there that we met. That was people of all colours, all ethnicities. But instead, see, this lady, so super educated, has swallowed this super liberal mainstream narrative that's been pumped out by successive governments about violence there. They don't tell you about the 485, I think it was, arrests at Notting Hill Carnival, the people that got stabbed, the gun violence. At that march, there wasn't any violence, really. That was probably a little bit of pushing and shoving that was actually created by the police because they purposely led some of the protesters directly into the anti-protesters. That was on purpose. That was not a mistake. The police are used to are used to managing big crowds at football matches and keeping home and away fans apart. They know the streets of all cities, but particularly Westminster, better than any at all, like the back of their hand. That was completely done on purpose. And then when the march couldn't stop because of the weight of people with them, the police had barged into them on purpose. So then they could arrest a few people to then make a headline, we arrested these people. I would like to bet that most of those people were let straight back out an hour later, a couple of hours later. It's just a Masonic example. Obviously, nobody wants to condone violence to the police. How many of those, though, were really broken nails? How many of them kind of got a wicklow on the side of the finger? You know, oh, got a hurty finger. How many of them was when they were trying to cosh one of the protesters to kind of prove how hard they were, they actually hurt their own hand instead because they spent too long filling out forms in the office? I don't know, but that's what I would presume. This is just made up. This is made up because they want to create a far right. They want to create a bogeyman, just like they've done with the Red Russia, the USSR. Then they did it with Iraq, WMDs. You remember 2 million people marching on London saying we don't want to go to war, but they went anyway. There was no WMDs. Remember the politicians that really should be in prison over that, and the political advisors should be imprisoned over that for treason. I could name you the names, but I think you can figure that out for yourself. Then Afghanistan. Now Russia again with Ukraine, and China's coming to take us over. So this is what you do. You always create an enemy. The state creates an enemy to focus the people's mind on that imaginary enemy so that you're distracted from what they're doing behind your back. That's how the state works. Sorry that this has been quite a long video, but what I would actually contend is that lady is the racist. She doesn't know it, she doesn't see herself that way, she sees herself as being super virtuous. She is the racist because she is creating racism by saying everybody else hates White Christmas as an example, hates the flag, makes them feel uncomfortable. So I would say that she's the one. But I would come back to the same thing. Don't stay in a country or don't come to a country if something as simple as that flag, what was her words? Shook me. I think she repeated that. They shook her. Thank you. Sorry for the length of the video.